Hello, it's Rebecca from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I am designing a layout for Peartree Cutfiles. So this layout is created using the gorgeous Shine title cut file. This was, I believe, one of the Wonderful Wednesdays freebies, but is now available in the shop to either download or buy as a pre-cut file. And it is one of my favourites. I really love it, so I was really excited to use this one. I've had a little bit of a dip in my mojo recently. I think it's down to the fact that we're not going anywhere, so we don't have any new photos to scrap. But recently I got my son's school photo back. Here it is. It was only taken last week and it was perfect for this cut file, and suddenly I just felt inspired and had to sit at my desk and start creating. So it got me going again. So these are embossing powders that I was showing you there. There is a lot of mixed media going on this layout. It took an awful long time, and unfortunately towards the end my camera cuts out. The storage on my camera was full, and rather than alerting me to that fact, it just cut out. So you get all the mixed media, you get all the background, but you kind of don't see me embellishing the layout. So I've done a video at the end just showing close-ups, and I will talk you through the embellishing. I've been doing a lot of heat embossing on my layouts recently, and I thought I would slow this part of the video down to real time. For those of you that aren't familiar with the process or are curious of how it works, I thought I'd show it down to show you. So what you've just seen me do there is use an embossing dabber, which is like a clear liquid. I've put it on just some scrap cardstock to show you, and then you pour the embossing powder over it. So with the dabbers you can also get pens or ink pads, so this is great for stamping if you're into your stamping. You put the embossing liquid onto your stamp it onto your page, pour the glitter over like you've just seen there, the embossing powder, shake the excess back off into your pot so you don't waste it, and then you set that with a heat gun. It's quite hard to capture on camera because my craft room has really poor lighting, but it kind of goes all sparkly and sets. And as long as you don't touch it for the first few seconds, that's it, it's set, and then it's all sparkly and pretty, and it's so beautiful. You can kind of see where I've tested my colours out here, how shiny it is in the light. They're really pretty. So you'll see me doing a lot of that on this layout. So here's my cut file. I've cut it onto plain white cardstock, and then I offset it in Silhouette Studio. Removed all the middle sections and then cut it out slightly bigger, and that will be heat embossed, and my cut file will sit on it eventually. But as I was prepping to get going with all the heat embossing, I had the crazy idea of adding some shaker pockets to my layout. There's going to be a lot of sparkle and shine on this layout, so I thought, why not? So I've done the two larger stars on the cut file I'm turning into shaker pockets. So I've put a layer of adhesive on the back of the stars and stuck a piece of clear acetate to them. Then I will cut that out around the edges. I've used glossy accents to stick that down because I find it's got a really strong hold, and I don't want this to move because I will lose my sequins. So once I've cut those out, on the back I then add a very thin layer of adhesive craft foam. So I need to have some separation between that clear acetate and the cardstock I'm going to back the star with, so that my sequins can kind of move in the middle. So I add a layer of foam around, and then I will fill those little kind of pockets with the stars with sequins. I do cut most of that out because it took me about 4 minutes to fill these two pockets. Initially I only wanted to have a few sequins in each one, but that plan changed, and then I decided I wanted to fill them so that pretty much the whole star was full of sequins. So they don't have an awful lot of movement, but they do have lots of colour and sparkle. So it's just a case of pouring your sequins in and arranging them how you want. As you can see, I start off with a few and then I'll skip through it because I pick out the smaller sequins from this set and leave the bigger ones out. So as you can see, they're both full there, and then I'm just going to back those with white cardstock. Because the pockets are quite full of sequins, you don't really see what's backing them, so white cardstock is fine for this. Again, I'm using glossy accents to make sure it holds. It's really important when doing shaker pockets to make sure there are no gaps in anything, because your sequins will just fall out. So once that's done, I put that aside to dry before I cut the excess off. So now I'm coming in with the heat embossing. At the beginning of the video, I used a pencil and just drew around the middle of the letters, so the bits that are going to show through once the letters have been popped in. And I'm just filling those bits in with heat embossing. So using my dabber again, pouring the powder on, and then I'm going to set that. And then by the power of editing, I'm almost done. And I go around the whole of the outside. This would have been much easier to just use gold glittered cardstock and cut this offset section on glittered cardstock, but I didn't have any left, so this was the next best option. And I haven't bothered filling the entire thing with gold because most of it's going to be covered up with letters and stars, so rather than wasting the powder, I've just done the bits that will be visible. And then I've stuck my cut file flat to it. There you go, you can see how shiny and pretty it is. It looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but like I say, those stars and letters will be filled in, so you won't notice that once the layout starts coming together a bit more. So off camera there, I have heat embossed the stars to fill in my cut file. So I've got most of my heat embossing powders are Wow ones. They're my favourite. I really love them, and you can get them in so many colours. So the gold one I've used is called Metallic Gold Sparkle, and then the lighter blue one is called Metallic Blue, and the darker blue one is called Opaque Primary Azure, and that one I don't think was glittery. So something on this cut file that doesn't have sparkle on it. So those are my heat embossing powders. I think that's me done for heat embossing now, oh hey. And I'm moving on to my letters. So for these, I'm using a blue Shimmerz paint. Let's see what it's called, I can't remember. Oh, I nearly dropped everything. This one is called Ultramarine. It's an original Shimmerz, so it's already wet in the pot. But this one is very old now, so I added a little bit of water to it just to make it a bit more usable. It was quite thick and dry. What I've done is I've painted the letters, but I wanted them more of a darker navy colour. In my photo, my little boy's wearing a jumper that's got kind of like a turquoise colour, a white, and then a navy stripe at the bottom. So I wanted the letters a bit darker. So off camera, I've just added some black paint to my Shimmerz to darken that up. As you can see now, they are a lot darker. I've added some adhesive foam to the back and just some tacky glue, and then I've replaced all my letters into my cut file, and those letters, because I've used foam, stand up a bit to add some dimension. That whole process took me just over 2 hours, so I've had to cut an awful lot of the video out, otherwise you'd have been here all day. But yeah, 2 hours on just a cut file, I think that is a record for me, but I'm so pleased with it. And this does turn out to be pretty much my favourite layout of the year so far, so it was well worth investing all the time and effort into doing it. So now I've moved on to my photo. I'm using a blue patterned paper there. That is from an older Cocoa Vanilla Studio collection. I've just stuck that down and distressed the edges. I'm then going to add a layer of tissue paper behind that, and it's just white tissue paper. I wanted lots and lots of texture on this layout, so I've got distressed edges and the tissue paper there. And then I have this lovely stuff. This material is gorgeous. I buy it all from the Isle of Wight whenever I go over there. It's in this particular shop I get it from. It's called Deco Web Ribbon, but I've seen it in other places and even on eBay. Sometimes called floristry ribbon. It's used a lot in floristry. They tie it around the bouquets. but I absolutely love it on on layouts. It's super sparkly, these ones. So these are both gold that I'm using, and they're just so pretty. They'll be great for Christmas layouts. So I've got two different sparkly gold ones here that I'm using. One I've gone around the whole edge of the photo, and the other I'm just slotting down the sides there. I'm just going to stick those on with double-sided tape, which is a bit fiddly because I've stuck it to tissue paper, so it takes a while to peel it back there. But I absolutely love the effect that gives my layouts. And then just going to add a layer of craft foam behind that to pop it up to the same height as my cut file. Which I've not yet done, obviously. Again, just add a layer of craft foam behind my cut file to add some dimension. Then I'm going to move on to my mixed media background. So this layout is a bit of a labour of love. It's taken a long time and there is a lot going on. So to start off with, I'm using Distress ink. I think that's chipped sapphire, that one. I'm just using the packaging technique. I don't want to have a complete colour washed background. I want a lot of white space showing, so I want my mixed media to look quite patchy. So I'm only adding a very small amount of water to my packaging before smooshing it down on the page. The second colour I use is also a Distress ink. That's in Faded Jeans, and that's slightly darker. Like I said, my photo's got that navy part in his jumper, so I really wanted some darker blue on the background. So I've done Chipped Sapphire and Faded Jeans, and then I come in with a lighter shade of blue, which is Mermaid Lagoon, that one. And again, same process, just putting some ink onto a piece of packaging, adding a tiny bit of water and just smooshing it down. Dry that off, and then I add some splatters. So again, I wanted to make it a bit darker. So to the Chipped Sapphire, I think that one was, I've added a tiny bit of black. That is an embossing ink pad re-inker. So it's just like a little I can't even speak now, Doppler. You know what I mean, it's one of those. So I just dropped a tiny bit in. And then I'm coming back in with some gold Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and it's nice and sparkly now. And as if that wasn't enough, I'm also going to come in and add some texture paste through a stencil. So this is by Ranger. I love this one. It's the opaque matte texture paste. It's the only one I use. I'm on my third bottle of it. Probably the last year or so, because it is so lovely and it dries really quickly, which I like. So I'm using an Echo Park star stencil, and I've just randomly added some texture paste there, just to add more texture and more interest to my background there. And at this point I'm trying to decide if I want a coloured border on my page, and I think this is pretty much where my camera's going to cut out. So I decided I wanted darker blue around the edge, so I did exactly the same thing as I did with the letters in my cut file. I use that blue Shimmerz paint, and I add in a drop of black to make it darker, and I just paint the edge of that piece of cardstock you can see there. And as you can see, the camera's jumped, so my layout is now finished. Once I'd done that border, I'd painted that on. I trimmed my background cardstock down by 1/4 of an inch on all four sides, distressed the edges, and then stuck it down to that background, to that border. And it's got a lovely sparkle to it. And then I set about my embellishing. So I haven't added a massive amount to this layout, purely because there's already a lot going on. I've got some vellum butterflies, there you go, from one of the Vicky Boutin collections. I've got a couple of bits of chipboard and two of the corners of my photo, which have been painted with that navy Shimmerz paint mixed with the black. I've got a couple of flares. One of them is from Dotty About Flares. I've put some metallic gold thread tangles in, a couple of cardboard ephemera pieces from a Cocoa Vanilla collection. What else have we got? I've got a few like sentiment word stickers. They're from a Tim Holtz pad. One says "You are so wonderful" and the other says "Shine bright just the way you are." And I've kind of snipped those into smaller sections to layer them on the page. What else have I got? Oh, I've also added, I had a Polaroid frame in blue from Cocoa Vanilla that I've added a bit to the top of my photo there, and one to the right. And I think I've finished off with a few adhesive gems. They are by Paper Mania. Had them in my stash since I started scrapbooking and still got loads left. I very rarely use them. So I've added a few of those in pale blue. And I think that was pretty much it. So although this layout has taken a long time and it looks like there's a lot going on, there isn't actually anything to it that was really difficult. So it's one of those things that looks so effective on the page, but actually wasn't that difficult to do. And as I said, I really do love this layout. It probably is one of my favourite layouts of 2020. And it also helps that I absolutely love this photo of my little boy. So I'm sorry the camera's skipped through all the embellishing, trying to show it as best I can here on video. I'll give you some close-ups as well, just to show you the layout itself. But thank you very much for joining me and sticking with me through a rather long video. Please do check out Peartree Cutfiles either on the website, or there's also a Facebook group you can join where we've got everyone sharing their layouts, loads of inspiration, and also a freebie cut file every Wednesday, along with a monthly challenge. So if you're not already in the Facebook group, please do head over and join. It'll be lovely to see you there. So thank you again for joining me. I'll leave you with these close-ups and I'll see you next time. Bye!